Hi guys, what's up? How are you doing? So this is me Roman Saini, and in this particular course I'll tell you how to study GS paper 4 ethics, integrity and aptitude. Very less information is available out there, not many people know. So how to study this? It is relatively new, just introduced in 2013. So we just have 5 question paper of it, and we also know like how many questions do they ask and what kind of questions do they ask and how many marks do they give and what kind of marks do they give. So once everything is clear, so let us get started. How to study GS paper 4 ethics, integrity and aptitude. So this is just an introduction lesson. Why it was introduced in my time only, it was changed for the first time. So we were the first batch to face this particular paper. So always whenever I talk about anything at all, I always go to the syllabus of the exam. So what does the person who has made the syllabus, what does they want from you? So notification of UPSC says that this particular paper will include questions to test your attitude. It will test your approach to issues which are related to integrity, probity in public life, and his problem solving approach to various issues and conflicts which are faced by him in the dealing with society. Because what will you do as an administrator? They will test your integrity, whether you are easily bikau or not, whether your actions, thoughts, behavior, words, speech, everything is linked with each other or not, whether you are honest in public life or not. They will see whether you are able to solve the problem of various issues and conflicts. Let's say there is a Hindu Muslim riot going on, how will you deal with it? Okay, so questions may utilize the case study approach to determine these particular aspects, which is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine if they utilize the case study approach. UPSC does not want an ethics scholar out of you. This is like out of the question. Even it wants to evaluate your ethical competence and not how much you know about ethics. Okay, I think this point should be absolutely clear. It wants to see whether you are ethical person or not. They don't want to see whether theoretically you know what are the schools of ethics, who is the father of ethics, what is ethics, and they don't want you to be a researcher on ethics. Okay. So similarly on public administration also, they want just basic opinion. I'm talking about GS, I'm not talking about the optional. And a basic understanding of any book with a good ability to analyze various topics and issues is all that is required to get like 100 plus marks in ethics, integrity and aptitude. So ethics as a subject, obviously it is not a standalone subject. So it will derive its content from psychology is definitely there, philosophy is obviously there, sociology, public administration, because these ethics are not like ethics of cricket, they are ethics of public administration. But for UPSC preparation, it is a bit different and it is a part of the general studies. So therefore, you're not expected to be too technical, what is ethical, what is not. They just do some basic questions. Basic theory is required, obviously. They can ask a difference between ethics and morality. All these things are expected out of you, but just the general studies part, okay? You're not expected to be too technical about it. So don't you worry about these things. So before you start to study ethics, the first and the foremost thing is, since it is so vague, nobody knows the right answers in this. At least in medical science optional or in any other optional, you know at least what is the right answer or close to what is the right answer. In prelims, there is only one right answer. In essay, there is a huge scope of right answer. But in ethics, it is absolutely bewildering. You will be bemused, you will be amused, you will be completely, you will not be able to fathom what are the type of answers which will get equally good marks, but they are diagonally opposite to each other. So before you start to study ethics, the only thing which can guide you here, let's say you are in space, so you're completely lost. So you will use coordinates in space, somehow you'll try to figure out your way to Earth. In Earth, you can use GPS, etc. In a locality, you can use map. In a metro station, you can use metro's map. So similarly here, you can analyze the past few years mains question paper, and they are just 5, 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17. So right now there are just 5. So you would get an idea about what UPSC is expecting from you in this particular paper. If you want to see the sample answers, I have already written these sample answers considering the UPSC Civil Service Examination paper number 4, GS paper 4 of 2017. I have solved all the questions which were asked in the exam, and the course is there on unacademy.com. You can watch it over there. Now, once you are done with this, you will notice that UPSC asks questions which we encounter every day in our daily lives. Okay, So if in an exam hall everybody is cheating, will you cheat or not? Basically these kind of questions. But you obviously do not bother to find out answer. There are better things to do in life, like watching movies, playing video game, okay, going out, eating food, etc. So these questions are like, what makes you happy? What does happiness means to you? How important are friends to you? Do you have friends in your life or not? How do you see your family in your life? That is also an important question. What qualities do you want to see in your partner? Okay, because you have to spend 30, 40, 50, 60 years with your partner. Okay, how do you feel about the current status of the society? And you being a civil servant, how can you change it or make it better? All these things become important. Now in government there are so many scams going on, 2G scam, Chara scam. So as an administrator, if you come to know what such scams, what will you do so that they do not occur in the first place? So the first and the foremost thing, as an ethical person, they observe a lot, they think a lot, they think about themselves, they think about others. So if you start observing your surroundings and you start analyze various social phenomenon as a part of your daily introspection in free time, even from an early phase of UPSC preparation, half of your preparation on ethics is done. So you will know exactly what kind of answers to write. You can start reading these model answers as well, but try to observe a lot. Okay, what people do in certain situation. There is a course on ethics, integrity and aptitude by Dr. Avdesh Singh on unacademy.com, which is literally the best course on ethics on internet right now. As of December 2017, I don't know if something better will come, but if you write ethics, integrity and aptitude and on Google, so you'll get that course link. So that is like really good course, since ex civil servant is making a course, so obviously it will be really good because he has worked in 25 years, so you can see his insights as well. So though this paper does not need extensive and exhaustive preparation like other GS papers, let's say in paper 1, 2, 3, if you don't know anything, you will get 0. But here, even if you don't know anything, you will still get, you can get more marks than the topper. But you obviously cannot afford to neglect it. Don't neglect anything. Okay, you can prepare for anything, you can quantify anything. Even philosophy can be quantified. You cannot write stories and extempore in the ethics paper. You need to develop the ethical temperament over a period of time to excel in this paper. Now you can fake it. Faking is very easy. Okay, like people are cheating in the exam, they are getting very high marks in ethics, all that is there. But you cannot fake it without being noticed by the examiner. So that point is also absolutely correct. A clear understanding about oneself, about society where you live, wide reading, a good grip on various social and ethical issues, and the most important part is the answer should look natural, original, logical. They should not look copy pasted from Roman's notes or Vajiram's notes or any other notes. So basically the logical answer writing style, they are the essential ingredients for this paper. Do not try to fake it. So thank you for watching this particular lesson. We will discuss what are the books, what are the resources, what is the approach you can follow in ethics, integrity and aptitude. Hey guys, what's up? So in the previous lesson I gave a basic introduction towards ethics, integrity and aptitude, and in this particular lesson we will talk about the syllabus. We will talk about if you have to read it from a particular book or a particular resource, and we will do a like point by point analysis of the entire syllabus of GS paper number 4, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude. Okay, so this is the lesson number 2. So let us get started. So we are talking about syllabus, we are talking about books, we are talking about resources. So before you start to read anything, there is a series called as Justice with Michael Sandel. It's a series on YouTube. You can also go to Harvard University website. Don't watch the entire thing. I'll just recommend watch 6 to 7 episodes, and that too like on 2x. Okay, you'll get a basic idea of what is justice, ethics, integrity and aptitude. So it will like be a groundwork. Basic introduction is given over there. Again, it is not sufficient at all. It is not even compulsory, but since people love to watch videos, I will suggest this. Before you move any further in the syllabus, there is a course on ethics, integrity and aptitude by Avdesh Singh. So please watch that particular course on unacademy.com. That is really good. And if you go on Google and write just ethics, integrity and aptitude, that is the course that pops up on the first result. So it means something is good is there. Then in ethics, integrity and aptitude, there is also something is called as my 2017 question paper analysis. I'll also do the question paper analysis of 13, 14, 15, 16 if you want. So I can do that as well. That is not an issue. Now, since people like books, but again I'm telling you, you can go for case studies. More than 50% of the questions are anyway asked from the case studies. Okay, if there is a 250 question paper, roughly 125 comes from the case study. So 50% of the effort has to go in case study. And for case study making solid, you can go through the Avdesh sir's course on ethics, integrity and aptitude. So here syllabus is ethics and human interface. So basically starts with ethics and human interface, the essence of ethics, determinants and consequences of ethics in human actions. So ethics are not alone, they are in relation with the human action. Then various dimensions of ethics, they can straight away also ask questions of dimension on ethics. Then ethics in private relationships, public relationships, that is also important. Now human values. Now here comes the important thing, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders. So they can ask you what are the ethical values of Mahatma Gandhi. Straight away this question can come. Vivekananda or anybody. Then great leaders, great reformers, administrators, all these are important. Then role of family, role of society, and role of educational institutions in inculcating values in yourself and developing values and giving the birth to the values inside a human being. So obviously these play a huge role. Now source is basically, I would say lexicon is more than sufficient for this, and it is very good for revision. If you are lack of time, let's say you just have 15 days, so just read the lexicon, watch Avdesh sir course, and trust in God that you will get 110 120 marks. But if you have time, then you can read Subbarao book. It is quite thick, but it is written by a civil servant, so it's a okayish book, but that is the only good book right now. So source here can be Subbarao. And for definition of various terms, you can keep a lexicon with you whenever you are reading ethics. Now in syllabus, whenever you talk about attitude, okay, so there is content, structure, function of its, then its influence, relations with thought and behavior, moral and political attitude, social influence and persuasion. So that is covered here. So in attitude, basically you'll have to find the definition. Now this is a typical psychology concept. So those people have psychology optional. You don't need to cover it from anywhere. Those who don't have it, you can read from the class 12th NCERT. It is freely available, free of cost on like you can go to ncert.nic.in. e-Pathshala pe mil jayega. And source here is again told you 12th class NCERT book, chapter 6 and 7. It talks about everything related to attitude, and supplemented with examples from Subbarao book. Again, if you don't have that much time, you can just read these isolated topics from psychology and lexicon, and you can just go and go through the Avdesh sir course and my previous year question paper solution. You will get a good grip and just go ahead. Do not get into psychological technicalities and terms. I had psychology optional, so I know it is very painful, so don't get into all that. Just try to get a basic idea of the concept, think about its practical applications, as many as you can, as much as you can. So that is what is all needed from your side. Now in aptitude and foundational values for civil service, integrity, impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion towards the weaker section. Now comes the role of a civil servant. So everything is related to your civil services or your life as a civil servant. So you have to be integrity. Integrity means there should not be any difference whatsoever in between whatever you are thinking, whatever you are saying, and whatever you are doing. You need to be impartial. You need to be non-partisan. It means that you do not take any side. You need to be objective. It means you are free from any religious, cultural, caste biases. You are dedicated to the cause of public service. You have empathy. You have tolerance, and you are having compassion towards the weaker section. Again, source is like either lexicon or Subbarao. So read chapters from Subbarao book. You can also read lexicon to understand these terms. And they ask these terms almost every year. Okay, almost every year they ask what is integrity, and these things are repeated almost every year. So prepare them well with as many contemporary and relevant examples as you can find. And emotional intelligence, it is typical psychology concept, but you don't need to read the entire book. Subbarao has it. Similarly, in any question you'll have to write just 3 to 4 lines about the concept. Again, 70 to 80% will be based on the application. So just read what is emotional intelligence, basic concepts, its utilities, and again application in administration and governance. So you don't need to go through the entire book by Daniel Goleman. This is stupid. Okay, don't devote that much time. Then contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world. This is such a vast topic that you cannot do it. You cannot simply do it. Start reading about every philosopher in the world, it will take months. So what you do is you just read about the 20-30 most important thinkers from India and the world, and 99% chances they will ask from this. Even if they don't ask, you can use them. So just have to get an idea about their basic philosophies. UPSC will try to give a quote and ask for its contemporary relevance and your personal views. So you don't really need to remember all these philosophers. That is not humanly possible. Then public service, civil services, values, ethics, and public administration. So there is a huge problem, status problem, ethical concerns, corruption, laws, rules, regulation, conscience, accountability, ethical governance, strengthening of ethical and moral values and governance. Read the basics from Subbarao book. They are very contemporary, dynamic, and they will be morely from the newspapers, Yojana, etc. And try to quote the current examples as much as possible of corruptions, etc. Then public service, civil service values, ethics and public administration, and international relation and funding, corporate governance. Again, it is like mainly Subbarao for basic concepts. Then IR, etc., CSR, all these things you can cover if they are in the news. Then probity in governance. These all things: conduct, citizen charter, right to information. Okay, all these topics, quality of service delivery, they can be covered from second ARC report. I have made a separate course on it, so you can watch that particular course for all these terms. Then case studies, there is nothing you can do. Again, 50% of the marks will come from the case study. So 50% of our effort should go into the case study. Write 10 to 20 mock tests and solve all the 5-year question papers, which I will be covering. And watch Avdesh Sir Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude course. So thank you for watching this lesson.